Welcome back. We are joined by Nicole Patino with law offices of Nicole Patino and Gabe Snyder with Ward Black Law. They're talking about workers' compensation and employees' rights and employment issues. You can text us your question. The number is at the bottom of your screen. All right, so Gabe, this question is, when an MMI is determined on an injury, what happens after that? And please tell me what an MMI is.
That's right, yeah. So what the caller is referring to is what's actually called maximum medical improvement, hence the MMI. So at that stage in the case, you're nearing the end in a lot of cases where MMI means let's say the person injured their back. The doctor says your back's not as good as it was, but it's as good as it's going to get. I don't have any more treatment other than maybe pain management to offer you. There's nothing else that would provide relief. I'm going to assign a rating to you, and that rating is what it's a disability rating. So it says how badly injured your back was. 100% would mean like you have no back. Usually after a surgery or a decompression surgery or something like that, I'm used to seeing 15%. That has to do with lack of mobility, pain that's experienced, stuff like that. And doctors have their own standards to do that. So once you reach MMI, you can choose two different ways to settle your case. You can either take a PPD rating. So in the case of a back, that would be 15% times your compensation rate times 300 weeks, which is given by statute. But you got to be careful with that because you better be back to work by that point because you have to choose between PPD and ongoing TTD, which is your weekly checks. So if you're continuing to be disabled and can't go back to work, don't take the rating. Stay on the checks.
Okay, and those are like really complicated things where you need somebody to be bouncing that stuff off of, which is why if you got a workers' comp thing, right, you need to get a lawyer involved.
Yes.
Nicole, this person wants to know, are there laws in place to protect LGBTQIA plus employees in the workplace? This is Pride Month, so this is definitely something that is on top of mind.
Yes, absolutely. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 applies, and the Supreme Court has interpreted it to apply to sexual orientation, discrimination, and harassment in the workplace. So you are protected as long as you work for a covered employer.
So protected in what way? Can you give me some examples of how that might work?
Sure. If you experience any harassment or discrimination, you report that immediately to your employer, and they should take action, effective remedial action, to stop that harassment in the workplace. So nobody should be treating you differently or badly based on who you are.
Okay, and so you should go directly to HR if that is happening.
Yes, report it to HR, and then if that fails, you can go to the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and you can file a charge with them.
And then people will say, okay, but if I do that, then there might be retaliation, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Title VII prohibits retaliation, so there should be no retaliation. And if there is retaliation, you can talk to an attorney, but you can also file that charge with the EEOC as well. So there are protections all around.
Okay, so the state is really monitoring that as well.
It's federal, federal agency.
Federal, okay, gotcha. All right, so Gabe, this person says, if you trip and fall going into the building before you clock in, are you covered under workers' comp?
That's a great question. The caller's really testing me today. I like it. So the general rule is this, that it's called the coming and going rule. And that says that when an employee drives to work or travels to work, they're not covered under workers' comp. So when I come to the law office and I get into a car wreck, workers' comp would not cover that. There are exceptions to that rule. One of them, for example, is like a traveling salesman. If part of your job is to travel to sell, then that could be part of comp if you get into a car crash or part of your job is to drive. If somebody falls in the parking lot, there's a rule about ownership that applies. If the employer owns the parking lot, it is substantially more likely that workers' compensation would apply in that case. And the reason why I say substantially more likely is it's not 100%. Those are tough cases. Definitely talk to an attorney if your case has been denied if you fell in the parking lot at work.
Okay, and I think of that like during like the ice and snow times and all that other kind of stuff.
Exactly, yes.
All right, Nicole, this person says, can a company refuse to pay you for paid annual leave that you've accumulated when you turn in your notice? Time was earned by working at least half of the month's work day to qualify for that time.
So it will depend on what the policy says. You need to get a copy of the PTO policy. see if there's a forfeiture clause, and it will say if you turn in your notice with 2 weeks time, you get your paid time, or if you fail to provide timely notice, then you lose any accrued time. It really depends on how the policy is worded.
Okay, so they're in your employee handbook somewhere is that, so you need to
Yes.
find that. Okay. Gabe, this person says, can the owner of a company or a business file a workers' compensation claim?
They should. Yes, they should. So, okay, I think I may understand the question, which is the owner of the business gets injured and they file their own claim against their own insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they can. I think in a lot of cases you may not want to because then your workers' comp insurance rates may go up. But yeah, absolutely. If you do make a financial decision on that, talk to your insurance carrier and determine that financially that makes the most sense, then yeah, absolutely you can.
I know, but I mean, would your workers' comp insurance go up if an employee did it just as much as the business owner did it?
That's right. Yeah, it would. It would. So it wouldn't make a difference as far as the insurance. The insurance rates wouldn't go up more depending upon ownership. It's just that an owner kind of has more of a financial reason maybe not to do that.
Yeah, stake in that. Okay.
You have
All right,
to balance that out.
Gotcha. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to continue with one last segment. Remember, you can text us your question. In the meantime, we're going to get a check on the forecast.